Hi everyone, it's Rendon with TJ Free, and today is Pi Day again. And so in celebration of Pi Day, I thought I'd show some of these Raspberry Pi projects that I've done. I made a video like this a couple years ago and you guys seem to like it. So let's dive in and take a look at these projects that you can build using the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi is this compact and fairly inexpensive computer board that you can do all kinds of things with. You notice it has USB ports and ports for a monitor. You can use it as a regular computer, or you can do some other interesting projects as well that we'll take a look at. So this first project is just a Raspberry Pi inside of a case, and when paired with an external hard drive like this 1 terabyte solid state, you can create your own home server. And so in this case I'm using the software Umbrel, which is software that's focused on letting you run your own cryptocurrency. In this case it's Bitcoin Core, so you run your own, you download all the transactions from the blockchain, and then you can request information and do your own transactions without having to use a third party, like an exchange. You can also install other things. It has Nextcloud, and you can do Pi-hole for blocking ads on your own network. You can do home automation. So there's a lot of things that are non-cryptocurrency related too. It's just a great idea for running a server. You can also use it with a battery pack if you want to create a server for when you're camping or on a road trip or something. When you don't have access to the internet, you can serve your own files. You could, for example, download all the Wikipedia and host that, or maps, for example. So I mentioned the Raspberry Pi can be used just as a regular computer if you want to. You can get a nice case like these Zebra cases for it and hook up a keyboard and a mouse to it and install an operating system. This is the K100 Multitop that you can use. It's a 3D printed case with a keyboard built in, and you just hook a monitor to it. The Raspberry Pi sits in here underneath this plastic, and this has an RGB backlit keyboard, so you can do all kinds of cool things. And in this case it's just running the Raspbian operating system, just a Linux-based operating system that you can use. You can do web browsing. I've used it for light video editing and photo editing. It's a pretty powerful computer these days. This is an animal feeder that I built for myself here on the farm. I have pigs that I need to feed, and also I'm going to adapt this to use for chickens. But it uses the Raspberry Pi, the original Pi, and also with some relay boards together. So I just have a regular 120 AC drill, and whenever the relay trigger's on, I can turn on this heat lamp and I can turn on the drill. So I can put it either on a timer, I can control it manually, or set it up to turn on whenever certain sensors. I could use like a sensor to see how high the feed is, or how cold it is outside, for example, to turn on the heat lamp. So it's just an automated animal feeder that helps us out a lot here on the farm. Another simple way to use the Raspberry Pi is just by hooking a monitor to it and using it as a dashboard. So in this case this sits right below the main screen, and this is a dashboard which actually integrates in with my Umbrel node that we looked at earlier. But you could show all kinds of data. This one's showing some blockchain data about transactions happening, but you could look at your calendar or incoming emails or stock trading or any kind of data that you want to be able to look at and reference. This is a Raspberry Pi that has another board on top of it. It's the PiSense Hat, and so this just ties in with the GPIO pins, and it gives you all kinds of sensors. So it has like humidity sensing, temperature sensing. When you plug it in, it lights up these LEDs. So this is an array of different colored LEDs that you can program to, you can actually do like a marquee and scroll and give information. This has a joystick on it, so you can do some pretty cool stuff. I'm wanting to build it into a weather station so I can gather weather data outside and log that on my local network. Another fun project is to create a secure way of accessing your network when you're not at home. That's what this one does. It's a Raspberry Pi with a battery pack and then also a wireless adapter on top. And this lets me connect to wireless if I'm at a coffee shop or a hotel and be able to access my home network and all my files securely via VPN. The only thing is, when you travel with something like this in your carry-on at the airport, they definitely are going to want to look at it and see what's going on, and you get some strange looks from TSA sometimes trying to get this through security, but I haven't had any trouble actually getting it through. They kind of know what it is after looking at it. This is the PiKVM. So a KVM switch lets you access keyboard and video and mouse on a remote computer. So this is a Raspberry Pi with a hat on it that lets you do video input and then also control the USB on another computer. So you hook up a few cables, and then using the software you can control, like a server is what I use this for in my server room. It gives you access to the full keyboard and lets you see what's happening on that screen as if you were there present in front of it. And you can even do things like power off and restart. You can download an operating system and install it all completely remotely. So it's pretty cool, PiKVM. So this is one of the projects that I included from the last video I made. It's a Raspberry Pi inside of a little NES case, and this is running RetroPi. It has the whole operating system and all of your games and files and movies on this 400 gigabyte SD card, and then you can use it when you're traveling, or you can hook it up to your TV at home, I suppose. But it's just a nice, fun thing that you can do to have all your games. This can play NES, SNES, Sega, N64, I think even PlayStation and GameCube. And then you can also play movies and media. So it's a really cool project. It's all open source software. You can use any USB controller to play the games, or you can get these retro adapters to convert to use the old original controllers as well. So the Raspberry Pi comes in all different sizes. This next project uses the Raspberry Pi Zero, which is a much more inexpensive board, not nearly as powerful, but it's very compact and efficient. And I use this one to build a hardware wallet. So this is just like the Trezor hardware wallet that you can use to do your own cryptocurrency transactions. So store all kinds of different types of cryptocurrencies, and you can trade and interact securely without having to give up your private key. It makes it much less likely of having someone hack into your computer and steal your funds, because all the transaction data happens on this hardware wallet instead of being stored on your computer. This project uses the Pi camera module, as well as a case with a fan and a mount at the bottom for a camera. So you can mount this, and this is a smart camera that does object detection using Tensorflow. So using Tensorflow, you can detect objects and have it tell you with pretty good accuracy what it's looking at. You can also train the model to work with your own different images and objects. This takes advantage of the Coral USB accelerator, which gives the Raspberry Pi extra processing power. That's a really fun project. This next project is an aviation radio receiver. So it's got two different ADS-B receiver cards in it at different frequencies. And so it picks up information from planes and aviation towers. And you can use this if you're a pilot while you're flying. You just connect in with your tablet, and then it tells you information about all the planes, how, their altitude, what direction they're going, what their call sign is. And so if you're a pilot, you can use this. You could also use it in your car if you're just curious about planes that are flying above. But you can also create this PiAware using FlightAware. This is called the PiAware, and this one you can just mount stationary using a special antenna and the ADS-B receiver. And then you connect it with the FlightAware software, and you can track planes overhead, and you can even upload and share your data with other people in the world. This map shows data that is currently being uploaded to FlightAware from Raspberry Pis all over the world. This last project is the Piper computer. It's a computer kit you can get for kids, and they build this computer out of wood, put it together. It uses the Raspberry Pi for the main computer, and you kind of build this little keyboard, and it uses Minecraft, a version of Minecraft, running on the Raspberry Pi to teach kids about electronics and programming. I use this for my boys who are 6 and 9 years old, and they loved it. They seem to learn a lot from it. So it's kind of a cool, fun educational project using the Raspberry Pi. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I try to make these videos fairly short so they don't drag on really long. If you're new here to the channel, I create videos mostly about using open source and free software for things like video editing and graphic design and animation, music creation. So check out some of my playlists here on this channel, TJ Free, if you're interested in learning about some of that stuff. Until then, leave your questions and comments if you have any below, and I look forward to catching you in the next video.